So today I thought we would do a little something different. I've been kind of bored just kind of sitting in the studio making the same old videos over and over again. So I thought we'd try to vlog around with a little bit of an experiment. Whoa. And that's to shoot with the Canon M50 in 4K. Now I've had to dig out my Joby tripod thing. It's been in my trunk for like a year, but I'm kind of excited to get it out and go back to making some old school stuff that I used to do where I kind of go around. But there's a few things I want to try to do this year to make things different on the channel. I'm honestly kind of quite bored of watching videos that are in slow motion. I'm tired of seeing that kind of standard B-roll, so I want to try new things. I want to try to start shooting in real time instead of slowing everything down. And one thing I would like to do is to shoot more 4K quality stuff. Now there's a few reasons that I want to shoot in 4K. One, I would like to have a little bit higher quality content when I'm posting things. And I realize that when you post stuff to YouTube, it really compresses it down and it doesn't look as good as it could, say if you were uploading to something like Vimeo, which isn't totally out of the question for me of what I want to try to do this year. But also 4K gives you a lot of capabilities that you probably don't think about. Like, for example, if you shoot in 4K and you need to scale or kind of zoom into a certain part of an aspect, you don't lose as much quality as, say, if you were shooting in 1080 and then had to zoom in. And also, if you take the 4K footage and you upload it to YouTube, when it does its compression, it's not going to be as hard on it as, say, with the 1080. Well, I mean, it's going to be equally as hard, but you're not going to notice it quite as much because that compression from a larger file to this versus from this to this. So, I mean, that's kind of some concepts there. So what I want to do now is show you some clips that I shot today, kind of showcasing actual 4K straight out of camera versus 1080p that's been upscaled. And while I'm doing this, I'm just going to do a quick little voiceover, and I want to talk about some of the pros and cons that I found, at least with the Canon M50. I mean, we all know that there's a crop factor in here with the 1.6 times crop in just the standard 1080, but when you go into 4K, that crop increases. I think it's like a 2.6, 2.7 overall crop. So I mean, even at 15 millimeters, you can see that we're pretty cropped in right here, but I still think it's usable and definitely doable. Now I am shooting in manual focus, and I have throughout the entire course of this video, which is really hard to do on the smaller LCD screen, which is why I have actually bought an external monitor that's going to give me like a 6-inch screen so I can see more of this. So you might notice a couple of clips. I think there's only one that I noticed off the top of my head that was slightly out of focus, but overall the resolution and quality I thought looked fantastic. Now once this gets uploaded to YouTube, I guess we'll see what happens from there. But let's jump into the clips. So with the clips you're about to see, I did record these on my gimbal to get that more smooth movement that you would see in more of a slow motion setting, but yet I still have the footage in real time. I shot this at 23.98 or basically 24 frames a second, and I am going to have it labeled when it switches between 4K and 1080p. Basically what I try to do is recreate each clip equally as possible. I didn't edit these clips whatsoever. This is what came straight out of camera. Now there's a few more reasons that I want to shoot 4K other than what I just mentioned in the video. Occasionally I still do some client work from time to time, and I'm finding more often than not clients are asking for 4K. Now whether or not they can actually utilize that 4K to its max potential, if that's what the client wants, that's what I have to give them. So therefore I'm going to have to start shooting in 4K or at least upscaling. Now I know this video can be a little bit unfair because I am upscaling the 1080p content to a 4K timeline. However, if I was to continue filming in 1080, I would probably be upscaling to begin with. So I think I might as well go ahead and shoot in 4K. Now some of the cons that come with 4K, I did mention the crop, but there are ways to get around that. You can get wider lenses, you can get a speed booster. There's a lot of different options to kind of help eliminate that crop at least a little bit. It's not going to make it 100% perfect, but for the price range of the camera with the M50, I don't think we really have a right to complain about it when, you know, that's not really meant for this type of camera, and to be able to have access to that, at least at this level, is pretty great. Now, storage space can be a problem, but at the same time, I don't really see that as a problem because external storage is becoming cheaper and cheaper. Cloud storage is really not that expensive either. Now, for some of you, you might not have a powerful enough machine that can handle 4K editing. Thankfully for me, my Mac Mini died about 4 months ago, and I had to go buy a new MacBook Pro, and so far it seems to be handling the 4K editing quite well. It does get a little bit loud because it's getting a little bit heated up, but other than that, I don't really notice any lag time or problems with either importing, editing, or exporting the footage. So for me, I think this is going to work really well because I'm getting that little step up of quality. I'm testing and challenging myself as a filmmaker and photographer because I've always just shot the same. It's always been 1080p at 24 frames a second, throw in some 60 frames for some slow-mo B-roll, and that's just quite frankly it's really gotten boring to me, and I want to try to step my game up and start challenging myself to achieve better quality, to try to become better as a filmmaker and photographer, and just try some new things, because I think that's what makes creating things fun, is when you try to create new stuff. When you get into that same old rhythm and you just constantly repeat the same stuff over and over and over again, it just gets boring and redundant, and I don't think that's what we as creators need to subject ourselves to. I also want to start creating more content like this to put on YouTube, so that way you can find more advice on these different areas. You know, I've searched countless hours trying to find more content on the M50's 4K capabilities, its comparisons, and things like that, and I haven't quite found what I've been looking for, so I decided just to start creating that content myself. So I guess my takeaway from this is that I'm impressed with the overall quality. Yeah, the crop's kind of heavy duty on this thing, but I really don't think it's going to be a huge issue to me, especially when I just start to change up the shooting style. So I think what I'm going to do is try to make less excuses about how my gear holds me back and start utilizing what my gear has and conform that to make it work for me, because after all, that's what we kind of do as photographers and filmmakers with our cameras. But hopefully you learned a little something about this video, and maybe it inspired you to change up your particular shooting style and try something new. I know maybe if you've been getting bored with things and have been looking for a new venture, maybe you can start testing yourself and test out your gear to its max capabilities too. If you would like to learn more about my process and about the Canon M50 and just different things that I have to offer, please feel free to subscribe to the channel. Also, a like rating on this video is greatly appreciated, as it helps me to determine what's the best content to put out here on the channel. And your comments are definitely appreciated in the comment section below. Have you used the 4K on your Canon M50, and do you like it, or why not? Is the crop just too much for you, or is it just some other reason you just not see a need for it like I do? Anyhow, leave your creative comments in the comment section below. Look forward to seeing you on the next video, and as always, be sure to create something new today.